the age of 35, Ludwig van Beethoven had pulled himself back from the brink of suicide after realizing he was going deaf. He came through the trauma with characteristic defiance. He was already one of the most celebrated composers in Europe and now embarked on a period of prodigious creativity. I think the originality and diversity of the music he kept creating were a direct consequence of his battle against the physical odds. It's almost as if he felt he was running out of time to express what it was he knew he had to express. The biggest and most immediate challenge facing him was the writing of an opera, the summit of ambition for any composer at this time. Europe in the early 1800s was in chaos. Napoleon's forces were sweeping across the continent, recently occupying Beethoven's home city of Vienna. Although dismayed by this act of aggression, the revolution's ideals of freedom, truth and equality resonated with Beethoven, and within them he found inspiration for his opera entitled Leonora. This is a work full of fiery revolutionary fervour and idealism, where freedom and justice triumph. It's a rescue story, and for the first time in operatic history, it's a woman, Leonora, who becomes the story's hero by rescuing her husband Florestan, who lies imprisoned in a dungeon awaiting execution. And while the opera had been inspired by the revolution, it also fell victim to it.
Yes, the occupation had dire consequences for the opera. Most of his friends and supporters had already left the city, and the opening night audience was made up almost entirely of French officers. Unfortunately, it was only under half full. Not good for business.
I wouldn't have missed the premiere of a new work by my great friend Ludwig. Also, as a patron, I had to be there. But even disregarding the small audiences, there were problems with the work itself. It was too sophisticated, too long. And frankly, it needed more drama. After the performance, to encourage Ludwig, I gathered some cast together to sing it through, and to try to persuade him to make some cuts. Beethoven blamed the difficulties of the opera entirely on the tenor who was playing the husband, Florestan. Personally, I thought this a little unfair, but I arranged for another to sing the part.
Ah, Herr Röckel, you've missed tea, but that may make you sing the part of a starving man all the better. Let's start.
Beethoven was prone to passionate outbursts, so I knew it would be a difficult evening.
Florestan, Florestan, hat recht getan.
Excellent. I shall have to see to it that you are starved before every performance, and we shall be sure of a success. You see, Lichnowsky, every phrase is there for a reason.
Yes, I agree. But that aria is not the problem.
Making an opera is not like choosing which waistcoat to wear with a certain pair of breeches. It's more complicated than that.
Please try to understand. People want drama, not just clever music. The first two acts are just too long.
They can't be shortened.
Ludwig, please. For my sake, for your friend's sake, please don't let this beautiful work be lost to the world simply because it needs some refining.
So you're all agreed, then? Well, then I shall have to go back to the beginning. Take another look at it.
However flawed the dramatic structure of Leonora was, musically you can see in it many Beethoven hallmarks. And in the aria which Leonora herself sings, he uses orchestral instruments for their symbolic effect. The horns, for instance, are used in a completely new way. Traditionally, they represent and accompany a male hero, but here they're reserved for Leonora. And on one level, they give her added power, but on another, the way that they're pushed and tested beyond their limits potently mirrors Leonora's own trials.
I suppose the shortened work was a reasonable success, but it made neither Beethoven nor my theatre a huge amount of money. It was so damn stubborn. Idealistic, you see.
I don't think you could possibly have given me my right percentage.
Well, we can only pay you your agreed percentage. Ludwig, please, do count it again.
I don't need to count it again. I'm not stupid!
You are only paid this very generous amount.
Generous?
You are paid this very generous percentage because we all hold you in the highest esteem.
Herr Beethoven had a great liking for female society. If ever he saw a charming face, we would often share a knowing look. He was always falling in love, usually with his piano students, but generally the passion did not last long, and of course often they were already spoken for. But that didn't stop him hoping. Finding a wife, the perfect wife, was very important to him.
O beloved Josephina, it is no desire for the opposite sex that draws me to you. No, it's just you, your whole self with all your individual qualities. This has bound all my feelings, all my emotional power to you.
One of the piano students Beethoven fell in love with was Countess Josephine Dem, a widow and mother of 4.
My parents arranged my betrothal to Count Dem. He died just before I had my 4th child. Beethoven often used to come to our house. And after I was on my own, we became very close. I can't deny it. I loved being with him. His music was so powerful. It could cheer me up or make me cry. And he was a kind man and good with my children. But as to anything more permanent, that was different. It's beautiful, Ludwig.
Have you had a chance to think about my proposal? Do you not enjoy my company?
You know I do.
Do you not enjoy our lessons?
Yes, of course. And I have the greatest respect and admiration for you.
I see. Respect. Admiration. But not love.
Yes. No. But I have my position, my children to think of. How would we live? These things cost money.
Oh, I understand that. I do. Me, a mere musician. A musician who's going deaf.
Countess Dem's refusal to marry dealt a crushing blow to Beethoven's hopes of finding love and marriage. Not only was his increasing deafness isolating him, but his uncertain financial status was also becoming an impediment to finding happiness.
At the time of his great disappointment with Josephine Dem, his brother Karl seemed to find real happiness in love. But Beethoven could never accept Karl's choice. And he did like to see himself the arbiter in all questions of morality.
Brother? Ludwig.
So, it's true then?
Yes. We are to be married.
Well, with all your distractions, I shall need to find someone else to look after my affairs.
No, I can still work. Johanna is expecting our first child, so I need...
Out of wedlock. A splendid work, brother. That's just splendid and true to form. And as for you, lady, I know you. And so does all Vienna.
Oh, yes, that's right. Nothing is ever good enough for the high and mighty Beethoven. Or is it that you can't bear to see somebody else being happy?
Get out.
Well, I knew him to be an unpredictable man.
It is said men with great gifts have little time for pleasantries, but what had I done to deserve such harshness? And treating Karl, his brother, like an enemy? Perhaps I was not as fine a lady as the great composer was used to sharing company with, but he made my head spin with his insinuations.
Beethoven was intolerant of those who didn't live up to his own high moral standards, unable to reconcile real people, real desires, with his own idealized vision of women.
Quite a beauty, isn't she?
Misunderstood and frustrated, Beethoven consistently felt isolated from those around him. At exactly this time, there's a typical example of how, consciously or subconsciously, the tensions in his life found expression and release in his music. He was writing a new piano sonata, which became known as the Apassionata. Its title tells you everything. This is music of violent rage, tragedy, and despair. This sonata finds Beethoven in the depths of human suffering. The passion and turmoil caused by his failed love affair with Josephine and his ambivalent feelings towards his brother's happiness are woven into the very fabric of this music, which starts darkly at the lower register of the keyboard. Now, like in so much Beethoven, this theme is built around a broken chord. This is a chord. Here it is, broken. Then, after this darkness, you get a moment of poignant respite, an acknowledgement perhaps of his inexorable spirit. He's bruised, but he's not beaten. From there, he cranks it up a notch, up a semitone, raising the tension. Now he explores that fragment. Recognize that? The Fifth Symphony motif, which crops up again and again throughout Beethoven's compositions. Darkness, misery, introspection, but determination. Beethoven's saying with this piece, I'm still here. This is my inner core, and I'm not ashamed to show it to you. And the tension between this despair and his innate musical strength light a touch paper so that the piece suddenly explodes. The mood he creates of sheer desperation and determination is imprinted on every bar of this first movement. The Apassionata was created in stormy political times. Austria was still under French occupation. Despite the political uncertainty, Beethoven's reputation was growing, and wealthy patrons gravitated to him because of his increasing celebrity. In Prince Lichnowsky, he thought he'd found someone who understood his uncompromising artistic vision.
The whole region was in chaos. There were troops everywhere. One had to make one's life as comfortable as possible. And if that meant spending the odd evening entertaining some French officers, then that's what one did. Some of them were actually very cultured and even loved music. Obviously, they were very interested to hear of my support of my great friend. There are, Ludwig! Come in! Well, come and join us. I'd like you to meet my friends.
We never stop moving. You never know the next time you'll feel clean sheets or a comfortable bed. And that is until we stay here. Gentlemen, I propose a toast to our host.
Thank you. Well, I hope I can make your stay all the better by persuading our guest of honor, Herr Ludwig van Beethoven, to play for us.
Oh, I'm very tired. I'd better go to bed.
It's early.
I have a very busy day tomorrow. A lot to do.
Herr Beethoven, please. You would honor us with your playing.
Play! 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 Play!
I'm not a performing seal!
He may not be a performing seal, but he's certainly a Rhineland pig. Perhaps we should arrest him, gentlemen.
I doubt if any of you swine would know what a piano keyboard looked like if it was blown at you from the end of a cannon. I will not play for you! Nor will I play for your emperor, Napoleon.
Can't your guest take a joke?
Such is the nature of the artistic mind, gentlemen. If you'll excuse me. What are you doing? Where are you going at this time of night? Ludwig, please!
There are, and there always will be, thousands of princes. But there's only one Beethoven! What about your new work? The manuscript will be ruined.
To this day, the rain streaks from that night can still be seen on the Apassionata manuscript.